Hello, and we are live with Tiffany. You know who she is, and with TL. We'll call her TL because that's what she wants. And with our advocate for West Virginia, this is Christina. And I will hand it to Tess first to tell her whole story from the beginning in the hotel, and or we will go from there. So go for it, Tess. Unmute yourself.
I think she froze.
Unmute.
Your
There you go.
microphone.
It is. Is that better?
All right, go ahead and yep. Go ahead and tell your whole story.
I'm going to leave it really vague because I do have criminal charges regarding this. So um, I'll start from back in the beginning. December or November of 2022, the same day I was diagnosed with cancer, my dad came home on hospice, and he died 5 days later. 2 weeks after that, I had a total hysterectomy to eradicate cancer. Um, and they were hoping it would eradicate it and I wouldn't need chemotherapy, but unfortunately I did. Um, I went through 4 to 6 months of chemotherapy. Um, and within that time, like just days before my last round of chemotherapy, my mom passed away. And it was really difficult because, um, my mom fell and broke her hip. She was a dialysis patient, and she went into the hospital and said, if something happens to me, I do want all life-saving measures. And unfortunately, my mom had multiple strokes after her surgery. And my sister and I had to make a really hard decision to put her on end-of-life care. And she passed on my daughter's 6th birthday. Um, and just before Mother's Day. And 2 days later, I walked into my last round of chemo. I was on numerous medications for the chemo, and still to this day, my bone marrow hasn't recovered. I've needed frequent blood transfusions, iron infusions, and for the first time, I had platelets. Just this past a little bit, just a week ago. So there was an incident where I had to take my son to an out-of-town appointment, and I took a prescribed medication that caused sleepwalking and amnesia. And somehow I alerted staff that I didn't know where my son was. Um, it was the hardest thing because the first time in my life I had been arrested. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever been through. Besides losing, I mean, all of this, like I couldn't quantify it to begin with. Um, I have 7 beautiful children, and my youngest son was born with a congenital birth defect that's more rare than congenital heart defects. And initially, we were thinking he'd only have 2 or 3 surgeries, but in March, he started having some symptoms of a bowel blockage, and I didn't know that's what it was at the time. And I had contacted his surgical team, and they asked that I bring him in the following day. And in the following day, they discovered that he had an 80% bowel blockage at his formal surgical site. So they went in and fixed what they call the anastomosis, which is those connections that they create in the bowel. He had a colostomy up until August of last year. And I want to say 36 hours out from surgery, I noticed that he was running a fever. And he just was very listless. I had notified nursing staff, and they were alternating Tylenol and ibuprofen. And at that time, his stomach wasn't hard or anything like that. And so they ran a viral panel, and he came back for having some type of cold. It was like the non-corona COVID or non-COVID corona or whatever it's called. And later that evening, he started not doing well, and I called for staff, and they they were trying to get an expedited CT scan, but there was no staff for pediatrics at that time. And they did an X-ray and noticed that his bowel had perforated. After I had told the nurses, look, his stomach is hard. Look, he's feverish, and things like that. Like the temperature only read like 100 and something on the thermometer, but his body felt so hot. And it was my constant monitoring of him and my inability to sleep because of how sick he was that caught it, because bowel perforation is life-threatening. So is a bowel blockage. And through my chemo and the loss of my parents, I still cared for my son. My husband would bring him to the hospital, and we would tag team changing his colostomy bag. For some reason, I could get a better seal on it, and it just protected his skin much better to prevent skin breakdown. I have, like I said, 7 beautiful children. Since every one of them was born, I researched the best car seats and made sure all of our car seats were installed properly. I make sure my kids wear sunscreen and just, all appropriately taken care of. And it was nonetheless with my son, Sullivan. So while my son was hospitalized up until this past week, his G-tube kept dislodging. I didn't know what was going on. I was frustrated and upset. But because I already had CPS involvement in my life, I felt like there was a prejudice against because the hospital knew that there was CPS involvement. They called and said that they have temporary guardianship or whatever of the children, temporary jurisdiction. And so, for the most part, I never had an issue there. All the nurses thought I was an attentive mom, and then this came a nurse and this resident physician, who at the end of his stay started having, issues with. There was only one time I never called nurses, and the second time I got accused of not calling the nurses, nobody ever came after calling twice. And so the unit secretary brought me towels to clean up my son, who had just vomited, and at that point had been sitting in his vomit because they wanted to see what he was throwing up. They wanted to measure his ins and outs and things like that. Ultimately, a courtesy worker shows up to the hospital and went to question me on things regarding my son. And I called my attorney, and I also called his physician, who explained why, that this is rather normal. And she's an attending that's worked since 2014 and had 2 fellowships under her belt. And, they took the testimony of the other doctor, who's a first-year resident just out of med school, over my son's surgeon. They try to accuse me of being under the influence while with my son, but after I had visited the ER and had a drug analysis and found out that I just was depleted on blood cells, and I needed iron and platelets as well. And the reason for it is CPS implemented this safety plan because they wanted my husband to do medication management and have all of my medication in a lockbox. And I requested that my attorney clarify the plan, if it was supposed to be all medications or just controlled substances, which I don't take narcotics or anything on a regular basis. And she clarified with the attorney for CPS that it was supposed to be all medications. So that meant everything from my rescue inhaler to my blood thinners to my lupus medication, everything that I was taking to support my bone marrow and prevent me from going into what this hospitalization caused for me.
Tiffany, cigarette. Smoke your cigarette. I see this.
So I ended up really sick because I hadn't taken my medication in almost 7 weeks. At the escalated shelter hearing, They decided to keep my son in community care and denied my sister access to him, denied returning him to my husband, who's been the 24-hour safety service provider. And they went back and forth about saying, well, it's because you haven't signed any releases of information, that you've been uncooperative. But between my son and I, we've been in and out of the hospital since December. And I really never got the opportunity to sit down with my attorney to go over the ROIs. In addition, the caseworker showed up to my hospital room to ask me to sign an ROI. She said that she assessed my condition prior to, but I know for certain that the same day that she came, my blood pressure was wild. I was septic. I had a high fever, and just septicemia is just life threatening. And on top of that, I'm immunosuppressed, and neither one of the social workers that came that day took care either way for the situation that I was in. And I had the wherewithal to call my attorney and say, look, they're here to get ROIs to sign over my medical records. And I think it was 3 to 4 weeks later that they got a court order for all my medical records. And so, even if I am a drug abuser, I know that they have kids kept in worse homes. In the state of Oregon, houselessness is not a reason to lose your children. They release brand new babies to go live on what they call the Greenway, which is along the 5 freeway, and it's basically a homeless encampment surrounded by hypodermic needles. And that's not anything of what my kids are in the situation. I have severe PTSD from watching my parents die and for going through chemotherapy. CPS's attorney tried to swing it that it was because of maybe my health trauma and stuff that I was inflicting something upon my son, but nobody on the medical staff could testify that I couldn't bear to be in the hospital room when my son would get even just an IV because I couldn't bear to see him in pain. That I advocated to go home.
Hold on. Okay. Just hold it. First, I want
don't know
to
whether
say,
to laugh or cry.
right. First, I want to say, I'm sorry about your parents. I just lost a parent too, so I understand.
Thank you.
And you don't have to cooperate with them. Okay, it's all consensual. It's a good thing they went to court and get your medical records, because you didn't have to give them your medical records. So what I want to know is, you have how many kids? 7?
7, yes.
And you have 6 of them with you now?
Correct.
But you're not good enough to take care of the 7th one?
Yes, they addressed that in court, and all the social workers said was that they were trying to work on a 24-hour SSP. But if I was an immediate danger to my youngest child, why wouldn't I be immediate danger to my oldest? 6.
That's my point. That is my point. Is he in foster care? Foster care? Okay.
Yes.
So let me explain what's really going on.
Not even
The
been there
first
a week.
thing, huh?
He's not even been there a week. They just removed him from our in-home plan on Tuesday.
Okay. I don't care if he's been there a year or a week. The minute they took him into custody, they went back to their office and they said, hey, federal government, we need 25. This is just a number. I don't know how much it is. $25,000 for this child. Okay. He needs to be put on Medicaid. And he's in our physical care. So it's about the money, because he's sick. Do you understand?
Yes.
And whatever you do,
money off your child.
Do not show Tiffany that picture. I do not have bail money.
No. I know. So what I want to know too is, are they trying to say that you said that somebody said that you were inflicting this on your child. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, it sounds like they're trying to say you have Munchausen's by proxy, right? But you can't have Munchausen by proxy if your child has had operations that he needed.
I don't know. They complained that I at one point got frustrated with not being admitted, and that wasn't the frustration I had. My son was flown 5 hours away from where we live. It's a 5-hour drive, a 1-hour flight, but and they it wasn't that I was frustrated that he wasn't admitted. It was that the safety plan required my husband to be at bedside upon discharge, and he's 5 hours away. That's why I couldn't take my medication, was because he was 5 hours away. And
Why why did they want your medication locked up? I'm not understanding that. You could
substance
die.
use.
If he's got life-saving medicine to give you and he's got to lock it up, he might not be able to find the key. He might forget the combination. Anything could happen in a state of emergency.
It doesn't matter. I mean, how many parents that have been involved with CPS have lost their kids and taken their own lives? They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm sure that their attorney was, he asked because my husband's been out
for the
of
family.
work since February, and oh yeah, according to the best interest of the child, it's not. Because my son has not spent one day away from either one of his parents. Even when he was in the NICU, I was there every day.
How old
My
is he?
husband was there every day. 2.
Oh, okay. So we got a kid that's sick. Ching ching. We have a kid that's under 5 that's adoptable. Ching ching. We got a mom who is projecting this on her child with Munchausen's by proxy. I'm telling you, that's what they're trying to say. And what really infuriates me out of all of this, how are you going to take the word of a one-year doctor? Is that what you said?
They took the word of, two of the other people that testified were kind of neutral on the situation, that nobody could explain how or why it was happening. But they assumed it was always when I was present in the room.
Look,
my son was hospitalized in what they call a safe room, because there was so many rooms taken up. So there's a drape on the window that's see-through, and it's like completely people can walk by and see right into your room. And I said, I couldn't stand, I bawled my eyes out when they had to take him back to emergency surgery. I wanted to reduce the trauma on my child as much as I could, and I spoke to child life specialists. I spoke to the providers that, for the first several weeks to months that he was there, every time somebody came in the room, he was terrified. He'd cling on to me like he was scared that they were going to do something again. And I don't.
And I can say I've been on the phone with her a lot. She's called me 11 p.m. She's called me at 1 a.m. And I normally answer unless I'm asleep.
Fanny, I'm telling you, if they're saying it's all these quote unquote incidents are happening with mom in the room and mom's taking her to the doctor, I'm telling you, they're trying to say without saying it that she has Munchausen's by proxy, because to them, it's not about the child. It's the attention that she's getting.
Yeah. And I know she doesn't have it. All of her kids are awesome.
She doesn't. It's obvious that she doesn't have it. The kid has been sick.
Yeah.
And I've always, even through my chemo and stuff, maintained appointments with our pediatrician and with their dentist and stuff like that. In fact, he just went to the eye doctor at 2. And it's so much because he's never slept away from us And we get a
So
1 hour visit a week, and like he's so freaking confused, and he wants to go home, and I could hear him screaming, and then my kids are crying every day for him.
and when they removed him, it wasn't 3 days before he had a diaper rash so bad he was bleeding.
Yeah.
They weren't putting him on the right food because he has a diet that he has to have.
He
That way
wasn't getting the water volume. He's supposed to be on continuous feeds except 3 hours in the morning, and he wasn't hooked up to feeds at all when he got there. And they send him into the family connections room and say, he's due for a feed. Mom knows how to do it. And so his bottom, it looked like it was dragged across asphalt. Because of the congenital birth defect he was born with, he stools constantly. Like, I could change 4 poopy diapers in an hour, and they have to be changed immediately, and you have to use a crusting method in order to prevent the rash. My sister was willing to learn G-tube care. She was willing to take him in immediately. And I know all I got was a 15-minute rundown at the bedside of how to do his feeds and stuff like that. Sorry. My kids are arguing, but
That's okay.
It wouldn't take long, and they said that the home that he's in has had prior experience. I don't know what that prior experience is, but I had never been taught to replace his G tube. And Amelia, please unbuckle that for her. I had never been taught to replace his G tube, which usually comes 6 to 8 weeks after surgery. And there was so much misinformation in CPS's report. Like, I'm just terrified because I want my son back, and my kids are ICWA eligible. And so we're trying to expedite enrollment. I don't know how to do that, but because, the tribe wants to keep the kids with family.
So
He's not with anybody.
because grandma is with or is native and she is part of the tribe, you can get it expedited. All you have to do is ask them and tell them who grandma is, okay?
And also, you need to have whoever grandma is contact the tribe leader, because they need to get involved.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, my husband and I have gone to the extreme of, like, I'll divorce him. I will separate him just to make sure that my son is with family, with somebody that he knows and loves, because he's not.
Well, first of all, Joe Biden is, I'm not a president person, so I'm not political. Joe Biden, November 23rd of 2023, signed an executive order that said children that have to be removed need, and I have it, I'll have to reread it, have to be placed with him first. They have to.
She'll send me that and I will give it to you today.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was an executive order. That is the federal law.
They're saying, like, even if grandma moves in to be the 24-hour safety service provider, that she can't, that they would have to put her in a hotel room, and they could only do that short term, and she'd have to take him back to Texas where they would open up a case there.
Yeah, no. That's federally legal.
No.
And I've lost my mind. Like, I can hardly eat without throwing up because I'm so sick that he's gone.
Well, you got 6 other beautiful kids to stay strong for. Remember that. And Sullivan's going to need you when he gets back. So you got to take care of yourself.
What's the lawyer saying? I'm curious to hear what your lawyer has to say about all this.
So her lawyer is a pretender. His lawyer is actually a good one.
Who's he? The dad or the baby?
Dad, yeah. Dad.
The one driving.
My
Say hi, Dad.
husband, my attorney, they both they seem to tag team it well. And even my attorney was like, CPS attorney was a, what to you. And I mean, she invoked my fifth, or she helped to invoke my Fifth Amendment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with certain questions and things like that. And I'm just at a loss because I feel so tailspin. Like I don't know my right from my left, or trying to.
Her and I pretty much talk daily, so
What's Dad's lawyer saying then?
Dad's
That,
lawyer saying let's go to the media.
Yeah.
because I want to protect the privacy of my children. And
Well, the
like,
good
there's
thing
just
is,
this.
listen, they cannot release any child's name under the age of 18. I don't care what state it's in. They have to say baby J or baby C or whatever.
Baby S in this case is probably what it's
You're
going to
right,
be.
baby S.
And
But
So why doesn't Dad's lawyer call a press conference?
because this was just
this
done in the last 2
Friday,
days. Yeah.
the court trial ended Friday, or the hearing.
And what does
I
the
So,
was
judge
told.
have to say?
you know, it's a judge.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just curious.
I don't feel like he said a whole lot. He said, I don't know why a mom would do this, but then again, I don't know why people do a lot of things. So he suggested to keep the child in community care at this point. Even after my sister went back to the social worker and said, hey, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to take him in. They said in court, Aunt doesn't really want to take him in or facilitate visits. And it wasn't that she didn't want to facilitate visits, is that the caseworker's telling her all these rules and stuff. And she's like, what happens to me if I do something wrong? She's like, I just wanted the visitations to be at the community resource center. So, there wasn't anything wrong. Cause like everything has to go through the social worker or whatnot.
Is that
And
a court
so
order?
I think it's a CPS order, to be honest. I
CPS
was
doesn't have any authority.
I was told we couldn't appeal it because it was an
What?
escalated shelter hearing.
You can appeal anything. It is the right of the people to access the court.
See, told you. So did Dallas. You can appeal this.
Huh? Oh, don't get that shit twisted. Don't let them motherfuckers lie to you. Oh, yes, you have the right to appeal anything and everything. You can take this shit all the way to the United States Supreme Court if it goes that far. It is the right of the people to access the court. And don't let anybody ever tell you that's not true. It's right in the Bill of Rights or the
She's not yelling at you.
Declaration of
She's yelling
Independence.
at them.
It's in there.
She's yelling at them, not you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hot.
I knew you were going to be. Smoke another cigarette.
They come and do these monthly visits with my kids, and the caseworkers told my 8-year-old, if you answer my questions, I'll take you to the park. She's 9 now. She just turned 9.
That's coercion. That's coercion.
It doesn't matter. Like, they don't.
Are you recording these people?
I can't. These visits are supposed to be between her and the caseworker. We are not allowed to be present.
That's BS.
Are they in your home?
Yes.
You? Oh no. You can be in that room. You can record. In fact, if I were you, I would have me, my husband, and I would give the 9-year-old a phone. Record everything because they lie. They switch shit up. They'll say you said something you didn't say. They'll say you didn't say something that you did say. You record them. That is your home. That is private property.
Yeah. And I'm like terrified
Oh my
that they're just
God.
gonna come and they said when they took Sullivan, you have 5 minutes to say goodbye and pack up all of your stuff.
Okay.
And
First of all, I commend you Because I'm going to tell you something. When they showed up here at my house, you can watch the video because I got the body cam footage. This bitch said, you and your daughter are signing a safety plan or I'm taking the baby into custody. So we're not signing the safety plan. Do you have a court order? She said, no. I said, you can't get in my house. I said, and they know. You hear the pitch in my voice change because I'm ready to laugh at this bitch and the 12 police officers. You can't enter my home. There's no exigent circumstances. There's no imminent danger. And I asked them too. Anybody got a court order? No. I said, you need to get off my property. The cop said, we're not doing that. Well, let me tell you, by the time I got done with them, I went to the prosecutor. I showed him, this is what your sheriffs are doing, your deputies are doing. He called the sheriff because he said, I clearly heard you. Asked them if they had a court order. They said no. I clearly heard you tell them to get off your property. And they said they weren't going anywhere. This is unacceptable. Yes, you can record. You can do whatever you want on your property. You're
This
a
is
good
why I
one.
said I don't have bail money.
And part of their safety plan was asking us to put cameras throughout the house. So they're there now. They were there then.
Don't tell me what kind they are. Are they linked to your phone?
Yeah.
Download them. Make sure that they're on because I have cameras too. And I, like a dummy, I forgot to turn mine on. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'll just pull the body cam footage because now I'll know what the bastards were talking about because my cameras wouldn't have picked everything up. Oh my God. I'm sweating. I'm hot. I'm mad.
I knew you were gonna be.
Like,
Girl.
I'm so still in a faded, like.
She's numb still.
So let me
Yeah,
ask you something. You said you were arrested. What were you arrested for?
Child neglect.
2 counts of criminal mistreatment.
No, those will be dismissed. I wouldn't even worry about that.
It wasn't even 10 days after that incident that I required a blood transfusion again.
Listen
And
to me.
it's like I'm a criminal for having health issues. I'm a criminal for having mental health issues. I'm a criminal, I'm a bad parent because of all that. But
You're basically what they call an easy target, dear. That's
Yeah, she
all
is
it
an
is.
easy target, right?
I will
Hold
die on the
on,
hill, but
T. Hold on, Tess. First of all, if they want to take you to court, they charged you with all this, you need to tell them you want a jury trial. That is your right. You have the right to a jury trial, okay? So the government has to prove their case against you. Now, what you have to do is you have to subpoena all your doctors, all your people that can testify on your behalf, your chemo doctors or whoever hooked your chemo up, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You get everybody in there, but you tell them if they want to take this all the way, that's fine with you. You want a jury of 12 people to decide your fate, not a bench. That's the judge. Don't ever go. I only tell people don't go to a jury trial under 2 conditions. Drug charges, because they'll convict your ass, for real. Or a murder, because even if you didn't do it, you're somehow connected to it.
Also, if your pretender doesn't want to do a jury trial, you go and have your husband ask his lawyer for one. Okay?
Like I also feel like I don't know what's going to be found, because they watch our.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We can squash this in federal court. It's all good.
Okay, so they charge the husband too?
They said failure to protect my son.
Oh my God. Jury. You all want a jury trial. Okay? Listen to me. I'm telling you this because I'm going to tell you something. I don't like sitting on juries, okay? Because sometimes I can't be impartial. I'm telling you right now, I just can't. But anyway, if I was sitting on your jury and I heard everything that you said to me, I wouldn't convict you. I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't do it. I'd be the bitch holding up everybody.
Oh, and I will say this, Tess. If they try to retaliate against you, let them. If they see this, let them. Because I guarantee I'm going to be taking their asses all the way to federal court for it. And I'll help you through it all. And you will win, and you'll sue all of them.
And you shouldn't have the same lawyers for family court and criminal court. You shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't.
We don't. I have
Okay,
separate
good.
attorneys. One thing is, I feel like I could definitely sue them for medical harm to me because of a safety plan they inflicted.
You can sue them for a lot more than that. Trust me.
Say, honey, you got a whole list of shit.
And losses of my husband's wages because they inflicted a safety plan saying that he needed to stay here 24/7 with me because there was no other safety service provider that could do so. I could tell you cancer is expensive. Missing work because your second set of parents, my husband considered my mom and dad hit a second set of parents. Missing work because they're both on end of life care.
Christina, do you have any input on this?
Child where does he have what?
I was asking Christina if she had any input in this.
No, but the story's also familiar.
I know.
This is the thing,
I
right? When you hold on, Tess, when you go talk to your legislative people, you need to reinforce this, and you can put me on the phone with any of them. You can't have the same story here in Virginia that you have in California, that you have all the way up in wherever and all the way down at the bottom. I mean, you just can't. You can't make this shit up. You can't.
I'm a top state. I'm Alaska. I'm up way up here.
Okay, well, you can't have the same story in Alaska that you got down here in New Mexico either.
No,
you just can't.
It's across the board. I mean, they don't understand what it's like to have a child with a disability, with mental illness, or to deal with a child in that situation. They don't understand it, and they want to try to judge you for the decisions you made in the time that they weren't even there. And you went by what the doctors had told you to go by. Like, she went by the doctors. I went by the doctors too, but they didn't agree with none of that. And they're not going to. And when you have a pediatrician or a treating physician of that child stating that you're doing the proper care for that child, that is the individual that should be making the choice whether the child leaves or stays in the home. And that's exactly what I have in my bill, that no CPS worker or no state official can remove a child from a home if the treating physician states the child should stay in that home.
Well, that's how Maya won her case, right? Because they said mom had Munchausen by proxy. And I'm telling you, Tess, you ask your lawyer, because I'm telling you, that's what they're trying to say. You have Munchausen by proxy, right? So when the hospital took Maya, I don't know if y'all know who Maya is. She's this big girl that won this big ass lawsuit. Mom committed suicide because of it. They said mom had Munchausen by proxy, but then was turning around. Her own doctor said, I'm treating her for this very rare disease. Mom knew the proper, medication because they wouldn't call her doctor. So the hospital took her into care. This chick won over $2 million. And guess what? They were treating her for the same thing that her own doctor was treating her for.
Actually, when it was done and said, it was over $35 million.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Maya was one of our first stories for Fight or Cries when I was with Fight or Cries.
That's amazing.
So,
That is just amazing.
The state of Oregon paid out just in December of 2023 $40 million to 4 foster children who had suffered abuse at the hands of their foster parents. And when my husband brought that up to our social worker, she's like, "Is that part of your case?"
What?
Yeah, it's
I'd
relevant.
slap that bitch. I'm gonna tell you right now, I have zero tolerance for these people. I'm telling you right now.
If you look at statistics, it says that 98% of children that they find in trafficking at one point of their time were found in the welfare system. 98% of children in trafficking. I mean, that's a high number for the foster care system, and they need an answer to this.
Well, you know what else? You
Well,
can also tell them to look at the prison statistics, because 98% of the people that are in prison have been through the welfare system or have had CPS involved in their life.
Majority of the
I've
children that age out of the system
End up in prison.
Yes.
I've read that like 40% of 40 or 60%, I can't remember. I think Dallas
Or
has
they
quoted
end
it
up
before.
abusers.
Families, 40 to 60% of families, I can't remember the exact statistic, will have CPS involvement in their life. That is a high number.
Yes, it is.
Well, let me tell you,
So they
and
target people.
Yes.
and people
And
did not believe me. And it's Fanny, if I didn't send you this, I will. The Department of Justice, or the Bar Association, my bad, the American Bar Association came out with a report that finally they admitted that they targeted Black and Hispanic families, and the children in those two categories were removed 70% of the time and never returned home.
that, and well, before the
Like they're
before those
targeting my
Indian
daughter right
child
now.
the Indian
Yeah, they're
Child
targeting
Welfare
my daughter
Act.
and my grandchildren at the moment. That's where I'll be tomorrow. CPS being her advocate because they're targeting her and my grandchildren. For the fourth time, by the way, because they know who mom is.
Yep, because of what you're doing. Somebody had asked me when I got into this fight, they had said, "Aren't you afraid?" They said that stuff tends to happen to individuals that gets in this fight. I said, "What more can they do? They've already taken my children." I said, they've done everything to me that imaginable that could hurt me. I said, they have nothing else to hurt me with. I said, I don't really care.
Yeah. And that's the truth. My kids, I swear to God,
Do you
I
have
didn't
your
know this. Go ahead.
Do you have your kids back now?
No, I never got mine back. When my case started, it started because my son was suffering mental illness, and I was fighting to get him help. It was during COVID. They wanted his doctor said, "Well, let's try to get another psychological done on him." Every place we called wanted to do a video psychological. We know that you can't get a psychological done over a camera, and we just couldn't get him the care he needed because it was during COVID. So me and his doctor had discussed, so we put him into Highland because his behaviors were so severe. He was causing self-harm to himself, and it was putting his younger brother in danger because of his mood swings, his temper. He would just blow up and go off. So we didn't know what to do at that point. So we had put him into Highland, trying to get his possibly see if we can get his medicine regulated, get him on maybe a proper dosage, or figure out if what he was on was correct for what he needed. There was a mix up with the insurance. The insurance company didn't want to cover it. So I had called and got a peer-to-peer with the doctor. I had fought. I mean, I had been fighting for over a month and a half because he had already been in the hospital. They sent him home. He had went back into the hospital, and I was fighting to get him a peer-to-peer. So they had finally got a peer-to-peer. When the peer-to-peer was accepted, the insurance lady called me instead of calling Highland because I had fought so long for my son. And she told me that he was accepted. By the time I got off the phone with her, Highland had called me to ask me to come get him. I said, the insurance is approving. I said, I guarantee you they're on the billing department right now talking to you. I said, they're approving his long-term stay. I said, let me get off here and call them and see if I can get this situated. By the time I got off there, tried to get a hold of them, I got a call back from Highland, and they said his long-term stay has approved. But in that meantime that I had hung up, somebody at Highland had already reported it to CPS that I abandoned him. So the CPS worker was a horrible CPS worker because she didn't care about any of it. So once that happened, I went and tried to file an incorrigible on him because I'm trying to get him the help that he needs, because I don't want him in Highland, because I know Highland in our area isn't a great hospital. I wanted him in another treatment center. So I was filing incorrigible on him to get him into a better treatment program. CPS worker went in and said I was exaggerating his behaviors and that I just did not want him, that he was too difficult for me to take care of. So we have our first court hearing. They had already came in and taken my kids away. We had our first court hearing. They wanted to postpone that court hearing because they wanted to work on an amended petition, is the reason why they said they wanted to postpone it. So then when they postponed it, I called and talked to my pediatrician, and he said, this is what makes me mad. He said, because I call all the time to get these kids removed from bad homes. They don't do nothing about it, but then they come to your home, remove your kids. And he says, I know you're a good mom. He says, you're a very good mom. And so he calls and talks to the CPS worker and tells her everything's fine, everything's great, and everything. And I know what he says because then he calls me right back and he talks to me and he says, calm down. He says, I know everything's fine. He said, everything's going to work out. He said, I spoke with her. I explained to her the situation. I got that amended petition. They said that I had a history of mental illness and that I was the root cause of my son's behavior and that I was in medical neglect for my children. Even after she had spoke one-on-one with the child's pediatrician. During that time,
Tiffany, remember it's West Virginia. Nothing goes right in West Virginia.
Exactly. During that time was about the time when they did all of that let go. I'm sure you probably know about it, where they was firing a lot of the CPS workers due to misconduct. During that time, I got 3 CPS workers, including the one that I had. They had given me 3 more CPS workers. One of them, I believe, would have been a good CPS worker. I explained all my son's issues, telling him the medication he was on, begged her to please get him some pull-ups because he would have accidents. And I did not want him to be in that hospital where other boys could make fun of him. And I didn't want that to happen to him. And she said, you sound like you're very, attentive over his care. I said, yes. I said, I've been caring for him since he was a baby. He's had issues since he was a child. And she was taken off of my case. Never talked to her again.
How old are your kids?
My daughter now is 18. I got to spend Mother's Day with her.
Oh.
It still upsets me. I lost my 3-year-old.
Oh.
And the only good thing about that is that I prayed and prayed that he would be in a good family. And although I believe the individuals that adopted him had a lot to play with why I was denied services and denied supervised visitation, I do believe he's in a good family. I do believe he's in a good Christian family. And I believe that they love him and they take good care of him. But still, yeah, it hurts.
I'm so
I know
sorry.
exactly how you feel, and it's terrible. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe they have this much control. Like, my attorney said, she's like, there's a very low bar for them to remove your kids. And it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that easy.
No, and it shouldn't. And that's why. And that's why.
It's a low bar for good families.
Yeah.
It's a low bar for good families, but it's a high bar for those that are actually in need.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
that's
no
the
foster
thing.
family wants to take in a
Yeah.
damaged child.
No.
Okay, hold on. I say this all the time, and Spanny will tell you. They will not remove abused and neglected children. They're not adoptable. They
That's
only
exactly
remove
right.
children that are adoptable because they do not have behavioral problems and they're wanted.
And I'm going to be a broken record myself. If everybody started learning their federal laws, this wouldn't happen as much because they'd know how to defend themselves.
Exactly.
Even if it's 1 or 2 laws at a time, learn the federal laws. I have them posted in Wicked Warriors. I have them posted everywhere. You shoot
And
me a message, I'll email them to you.
And not only that, you need to learn the superior law of the land. That's the Constitution, because the Constitution trumps the federal laws and the state laws.
Exactly. And that's what they do. Each time CPS comes in and to your house and invade your privacy, they do. They violate every law by just entering in. But see, that's the thing. We don't know. When you first get an involvement with CPS, you don't know. You want to do what they tell you to do. You want to do everything you're supposed to do because you are afraid. You are afraid that you're going to lose your children. You are afraid that they're going to do, that the worst is going to happen. And that is why you do everything they tell you to do. You go to these doctors, you do all of that. You know, it took them 2 psychologicals to get the crazy result they wanted from me. 2.
But you know why? Did you go to
Tiffany, I
their
got to pop out
doctors?
for 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to their doctors?
Yeah. The same
Okay.
one within a month and a half to 2 months. The first one was decent results. You know, I got told by a lawyer that nobody can pass the CPS psychological. But the second one was completely, I was so mentally unstable that I couldn't even hold a job, but I hold a job with the state of West Virginia.
Right. See, you don't have to go to their doctors.
No, you don't. But see, that's the thing. You don't know. Nobody knows. And that's because these court appointed attorneys, a lot of times, are just there to just be there. If you would know complete details of my case, I worked at magistrate court for about almost a year, somewhere around in there. My mother worked at magistrate court for 20 years, almost 15, 20 years, somewhere around in there. And they knew all the judges. My sister-in-law at that time was a prosecutor in the county my case was heard at. Me and my family had a falling out because they did not agree with the things I was doing for my son's care. I was doing what his doctor was instructing. Everything his doctor was instructing is what I was doing, and they didn't think I was doing enough. Like his doctor said, we don't want to zombify him. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure he still has a sustainable life and find the proper medication that can control him to where he doesn't lash out. And that's what I was trying to do. But they didn't agree with that. They didn't agree with that altogether. And the thing is, though, the individual that adopted my child, like I said, I do not believe he has any play in this. I don't believe he has a part to play in this at all. But his position, I believe, did. He was the director of human resources at DHHR. I knew. I seen your face. You knew where I was going to.
I think we need to get in chat one of those little meters and watch. And by the time Tiffany blows, everybody can donate $1.
But
I'm pretty sure it's a game to some people from what I'm reading.
yeah.
They watch Tiffany and see when she's going to blow.
This is absolutely horrible, and shame
I know.
on your family. Shame on them.
I'm fighting now because God knew I was strong enough to go through this, and He knew I was strong enough to be able to fight for other kids.
See what happens.
And I tell everybody that this may have happened to me, And this may be my life right now, but I will not stand for it to happen to any more families. And that is why I am fighting. That is why I am trying to, in the bill that I wrote, I put in there that nobody can remove their child, or nobody can remove a child from a home without a warrant. CPS needs to be transferred over to a police division so that the police officers that were trained to investigate can investigate these cases. And if that is done, protocol for police has to be followed with protocol for CPS. So if it's done that way, you can utilize your state codes. You can utilize warrant codes. You can utilize expungement codes. You can utilize codes for I can't think. I put another. There's some other codes I put in there, but you can utilize all of them codes that is there for our protection, for our safety. But that's the problem. CPS cases, they are not there for our safety. They are not there for our protection. They are there so CPS can get what they want and get the money they need for the children.
Yeah. I can't tell you how nicely dressed CPS's attorney was. And when he asked me about my husband's employment and how he intended to support a large family, I just almost wanted to turn the tables and be like, well, I think he's going to get a job with DHS to monetize children so that he can be as nicely dressed as you.
Michelle, I will. I would add you on that, but I'm going to wait until Tiffany has a cool down period because your case is more difficult than these two.
Oh God, we can't talk to her tonight. We
I
can do
didn't
her
know
on
there was something
Wednesday.
more difficult.
Put her on for Wednesday. Put her on Wednesday, Spanny.
Will do.
Do you have the 154 cases?
Somewhere
Does she have those?
I have them. I have the link somewhere.
I will send them to Spanny to send to you because you need to take that. Don't take the whole thing. You just take the cases that are on there, and you take them to the legislative body, okay? And say, look here, the federal and the Supreme Courts have already ruled on this. A social worker cannot remove a child without a warrant. It's clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the federal laws too. That's why I send them to everybody. I want people to learn them, even if it's just one person in that family that can learn them. So if it's not the mom, it could be the dad. But the thing is, it'll protect them. And as for the Constitution, they have a kids book that teaches the kids Constitution as young as 2.
Look,
so the kids can fight back.
People, go online and go to the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. But make sure you put for kids on there. I have told parents to tape it to their glass sliding door so when CPS shows up, they're on the door. You can't read. I mean, you got to get the kid version. You don't understand the adult version.
Yeah.
And they actually make it into a game so that way, like I said, the kids are as young as 2 can learn it to protect themselves. So I have
to get that Amazon link.
I mean,
Tiffany can send it to me and I'll send it to you.
You
but
can get
yeah,
my information too. I feel like if I had money to fly you guys all out, every time I had an interaction with them,
CPS don't like me.
They don't like me either because I got so much mouth and backbone. Let me tell you something. I told the child support
to Oregon right now, anyways, because I'll end up as a serial killer. And no.
Look, I told the state of Virginia when child support came after my bank account, and I told CPS my will is stronger than the whole United States put together. So you can play with me. We'll find out whose wills are stronger, honey, because I'm telling you, mine is.
You know, that was you said child support. You know, even though I was proven to be so mentally unstable, I couldn't keep a job. I still kept a job and paid child support for my kids while they were in state custody.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. They've removed.
Yeah.
They've removed my ability to see my son's medical chart, to message
Yes,
with his
that's illegal.
doctors.
They can't do that as
And-
long as you have your parental rights. Absolutely not. No, they cannot.
They asked me to file for Social Security while he was in temporary jurisdiction. Right now, I have no doubt in my mind that they're filing on his behalf. No
Oh,
doubt.
that
They are.
child's on Medicaid. He's getting SSI. He's getting everything.
Oh yeah.
And he'll never see a cent of that money, even if.
Nope.
So when you get him back, you need to file with the judge right away to get that SSI back, because that SSI they will keep.
They sure will.
Yeah, I am like,
That one girl, pet your huskies for me.
Next Sunday, you all should tune into the child support guy that I'm having on for Father's Day. This guy, woo, I tell you, I won't be doing much talking, okay? Because this guy, like me and Spaney know CPS, this guy knows child support better than anybody. And you should not have been paying child support.
I was.
especially since
paying-
the state,
I was
the
paying for
state's already
each
paying.
child. The
So
state,
Alaska is trying to get my addict troll to pay for child support, even though my addict troll is on disability.
yeah, the state was getting the individuals. The state was giving them money, plus I was giving them money. So yeah,
So that's double and triple dipping. That's a federal offense. In fact, the
So if
federal
they're- if
government came out and said that the states can waive the money for foster care. Yeah, they did. They did that 2 years ago.
mhm.
They sure did.
So if they're getting Social Security for my son, which I'm sure they were able to expedite too, because it takes months, and then to reappeal if you are denied, and they're also getting an allowance from the state, that's double dipping.
Well, if he did, I'm telling you, he's getting the Social Security because he's in state custody. There's no wait time. They automatically issue that check.
What's Jess? Who are you talking?
Like I'm so over. Like I can't. Like I just want to grab my baby. I'm terrified that I'm going to see him in a grocery store when he's out with this family. You know, I only get 1 hour a week.
I
When
was
he's never.
You'll never see him. You will not see him in public. I'm telling you right now, it just won't happen.
Yeah, I felt the same. I was terrified, but I never seen my son anywhere. I was terrified. You know, sometimes to this day, you still get that fear, and it's been 3 years for me. You still get that fear that what if I see my child? Are they going to recognize me? And then if they don't recognize me, am I going to have a meltdown and a breakdown? So yeah,
Well,
I get that.
I will tell
One of
you
the
this.
hardest things to do is to see your child in a store and have to turn and walk away.
Yeah, that would be hard.
I've had to do it.
I
I'm
have my
terrified
rights
that we're-
terminated on one of my children. Okay.
I'm
But I
terrified they're
didn't
going
know
to
the
TPR
system.
us.
No, they can't TPR. Listen to me. First of all, if they do TPR you, the chick sitting above your head on the screen has gotten kids home. Don't even worry about that. I wish I knew Spanny back in the 90s because my daughter, I would have got her back. But see, the foster parents were
That's so
brushing
cool.
her and putting shit in her head, right? So they backed me up in a corner. Either you can do it willingly or we're just going to strip them. What's it going to be? I mean, what choice did I have?
Yeah.
Either way, I was done, but I wasn't good enough to take care. Now I had 3. They took the middle one. I was good enough to raise the oldest and the youngest, but not the middle one. Give me a fucking break. And just like you, I said the same thing. This will never, ever again happen to another family as long as I have breath in my body.
Mhm.
So that one girl, you see that chick over there? Her name is Christina. She's an advocate in Charleston, West Virginia. They will not kill you.
No.
Like I
I
feel
I know who that I know who that one girl is.
Yeah, right there. I went ahead and put at joined at joined by hearts. Look me up. I'm on all social media platforms, so look me up and I can be there to help
I'll
you.
do one better. I'll messenger chat you guys here in a minute.
Yeah, because so I could jump on her link too.
I'm
Okay,
probably gonna
so
put her in a group with us.
I feel like your bill should not just be state level. I feel like it should be federal. I feel like it should
I'm
be
working
across
on
the
that.
board.
It's in the hands of an individual that is running for Congress and more than likely is going to be winning. So I can only pray that that individual will help me with the bill. Can't say they will, but it is in their hands.
well, send me a copy of the bill. Just change the state name, and I'll send it to my brother-in-law, who is a state senator, and we'll start seeing if we can get this thing all across. Send me a
No,
copy
you
too
can
for
wait
Virginia,
a
and I'll
minute.
give it to my senator.
I'm lobbying. I feel like lobbying every level of government, showing up at those town halls, reading my story, and
You
saying,
need to.
"Look,
Yeah,
You need to.
I've lost everything,
exactly.
and you continue to take things away. Like there's just no way."
Mm-hmm.
The CPS has
Exactly.
blood on their hands. Not only blood of the parents who have taken their own lives with those because they emotionally can't deal with the loss of their children, but the blood of children. A
Mm-hmm. They
10-year-old
do.
child I just posted in Malibu's group died at the hands of their foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
These most of these foster families are in it for the money, and it's a quick turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing. They don't care about statistics, okay? Because if they really cared about statistics, they would know that even if a child is being abused in the home, the child is less likely to die at the hands of a parent. A child that enters foster care is 600 times more likely to be abused physically, sexually, or murdered by a foster family.
Yes.
Send me those statistics.
I'll send you the whole website and you can look it up for yourself.
I will, because my husband's attorney takes them to the media. This has got to be seen. I am sick of it.
It will be. Trust me.
I'm sick.
It will be.
I'm
Look
sick
here.
of families that
Listen, Tess.
actually
Mhm.
that
I
abuse
have
their
so-
kids and are not getting help.
I have so much stuff that your husband's attorney's head would pop off his shoulders because he would be so overwhelmed.
So you wanted to send that attorney's email address to me so Tiffany could talk to him, right?
I'll talk to him. If he wants to talk to me, I'll talk to him. I sent one attorney so much stuff, all he could say was, "This is going to be a lot of reading." Yeah, it really is. You need to get up to date.
I can send you my husband's attorney email address and be like, you could just put in the subject line, "In the matter of Jeffrey Lehman's family, please read," because those statistics have got to be known.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
I'll
if it's
send it all to you. You can give it to him, but you can put me on the phone with him too, because let me tell you something. The judges
That'd
are
be
not
better.
educated. The CPS workers are not educated. The lawyers are not educated.
Mhm.
You know who's educated? It's the advocates, because we stay
Yeah.
on top of this shit. We do this all day, every day.
exactly. Did you
Even
know?
at 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. Just let you know.
Yeah. Did you know
So,
that 46 states neglected to report 34,800 children missing?
Oh, I believe that.
And
I believe
yeah. I mean,
all in
46
foster
states.
care, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Danny, didn't you have an infant that ran away?
West Virginia.
An infant
Wow.
got up and walked out in the middle of the night. Can't nobody find his baby.
West Virginia.
That's ridiculous.
I feel
Kimberly
like
Lowe's
if
the
the
one
trial,
that found it and sent it to me, Christina. I just don't know where it went.
They said that it takes about 55 days to find a missing child in foster care. And the thing is, though, when any other child goes missing, they do search parties, Amber Alerts. Foster care children, nothing. That CPS worker supposedly looks for them. I believe that the children are going elsewhere. That's why they ain't going looking for them.
So
They're
in
being trafficked.
Alaska, the foster children, if they're 13 or over, all they do is, hey, APD, you need to watch out for this. That's as far as it goes.
In a lot of states, they don't even contact the police. They don't even contact
Yeah.
nobody.
Nope.
You know
let them
that movie?
put
I
in
don't know
there.
if you guys have heard of that movie Freedom Fighters,
Mm-hmm.
where this guy, is investigating sex trafficking. Of course, it's overseas, but that's happening here.
Yeah, it
Of
is.
course
CPS is the
it is.
biggest sex trafficking. They're selling
There's a
little
lot more
babies.
movies coming out on this stuff. It's just
Yeah.
they don't get it all right, or their numbers are so low that you're
Mhm.
sitting there going, really? It's just like one that I seen the other day said that Alaska only had one child go missing the last 10 days. And I'm sitting here looking at my phone, looking at the notifications, go, no, that's a lie.
Mhm.
I refuse to share Amber Alerts anymore because I feel
Yeah,
like
because
they're
you don't know
valid
if those
parents
children
taking
are
children,
teenagers just getting out of a bad situation.
or
Or you don't know if CPS put them out.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well,
or if they're
yeah. This
oh,
one
it's the Sound of Freedom is the name of the
yeah.
movie, but how do I know that it's not parents that actually love their kids and they've been taken away by CPS?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Exactly.
And we while my son was in the hospital, we had a case in Washington, and it was a police officer impregnated 2 minors, 14 and I can't remember the age of the other one. Went to the 14-year-old's house, took the 1-year-old baby, killed her, killed his wife, and fled over state lines with the child. What is happening?
You can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody.
No.
Michelle,
No.
if you don't get up and at least get something to drink, I'm going to call you and beat your head in.
All right.
Sorry. She's been doing this where she lays in bed all day and she doesn't eat or drink.
Yeah, she's probably depressed.
She is, but she has kids that are depending on her to get them home, and that is a serious situation.
Okay, we'll schedule her for
I felt the
Wednesday.
same.
Yeah.
I felt the
Yeah.
same. It's hard to eat without getting sick at my stomach. It's very hard
So-
to eat.
The only thing that got me by was I had to tell myself that I have to make myself better. I have to make all of other people's families better so that my kids will see that I never gave up. Because if my kids see me giving up, if my kids see me laying around not doing nothing, then I just proved the system wrong. I proved CPS, or I just proved the system right, not wrong, but I proved the system right that I was no good to be a parent. And I'm going to prove the system wrong. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to show them, and that's what you need to do. You need to prove the system wrong. You need to show them that you are not bowing down and that you are not giving up and that you're not going to stop children.
Amen, sister. But I do want to let you know that your daughter has a big old target on her back because she's been in the foster care system. So when she has a baby, she will 99% have a CPS case.
Yep.
Just know that.
My daughter is 21 and she's had 4 CPS cases so far against her. And the 4th one is why I'm going to Anchorage tomorrow. But Michelle, you cannot give up. Your kids have to see there is something to fight for. And even if they're not seeing you, they'll see you later. It's social media. They're going to see your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
If Michelle has her rights, they cannot listen to me. As long as you have your parental rights, you can access their records, school, medical. It doesn't matter. That's the federal law.
Michelle's in a one judge town here.
We need to end the show.
Yep.
Just to keep things like, if my husband's attorney goes to the media this week, we're gonna hashtag it. Bring Sully home before Father's Day.
Okay.
Bring Sully home before Father's Day. Because he needs to be home.
Okay. Well, I got to get off here and talk to a private investigator about another West Virginia situation. Christina, I will probably clue you in on this call, so just a heads up I'm probably gonna be calling you.
All right then.
All right, give me everybody's
All right,
information.
We'll do.
share my information.
All right, we're ending. Just hold on, guys. We'll talk to y'all on Wednesday with Michelle.